Hi, it's Lori from Coast to Coast Craft Girls coming to you from the West Coast. Today I wanted to share an easel card that I made. It's kind of inspired by a card that Crafter's Companion did on a craft along several years ago. It's not exactly like this, but it's similar, using some edgeable dies. And it's an easel card like that. And you can see that you've got your cut through edgeable on the card itself all the way down to the bottom, and so that lines up so you can see right through, and then on the top panel as well. So it's super pretty, I think anyway. It's just a beautiful card. You could put any kind of florals or anything. You could put a whole big floral arrangement on there if you wanted to. I just did the one single rose with the sentiment, which I really liked. But you could do anything on the front. But anyway, it takes a while to make, so I'll warn you there. But I'm going to fast forward through pieces so that you don't have to sit forever. But let me show you how it's made. I made it in 2 pieces. So we start with a piece of card that is 5 by 7. It's just over 7 because the dies that I used were these Crafter's Companion edgeable dies, and they are actually 7 1/4. But so I made the card just slightly over 7, so you can see it just fits on there. It's a little bit bigger, and then this piece is 7 by 8 1/2. It's just I had a 8 1/2 by 11 piece of paper, so I cut it at 7. And then it's scored at 5 and 7 1/2. And this is going to create your easel, and this is your top panel that's going to connect onto there, like that. Okay? But before you do that, we're going to cut into our card. So we're going to start by putting our edgeable on. So if this is your easel, this is the bottom of your card. So we're going to put that edgeable, and we're going to cut it into the bottom of this card. So just line it up right at the bottom and center it up, and then we'll run it through our die cutter. Okay, and then we're going to take our piece of 5 by 7 card, and we're going to run that same die through right on the edge on both sides. So I actually happen to have 2 of the same die, so I can run it through at the same time. If you don't, you probably won't have 2 of them. So run it through once and then run it through again. And you just want to line it up right against the edge and get it even side to side. Now, for my 3 drop shadows, I did them in dark pink. So I have 2 pieces that are 2 1/2 by 7 and one that's 5 by 7. The one that's 5 by 7, I'm going to end up putting on the back, and it'll basically go across that whole back. And I just thought it would look better than doing it, like this and having it just sort of be part way. So that's why I did it that way. Now, if you don't want to do a drop shadow, if you just wanted to do a piece of solid cardstock behind, that also looks nice, right? You could just do a piece of solid cardstock and have it and leave it like that, and not have the see-through element. But I liked the see-through element of it, so I'm going to do mine as drop shadows. So we're going to take these pieces are the 7 by 2 1/2, and again, center them up, get it on the edge, and they're actually just a little bit short of 7, or because I don't want them to go past that edge. So if they're a little bit short, I don't care. So get them right on the edge and centered up. And these don't have to be perfect because they're going to go underneath anyway. Okay, and one more to go. So we take my pink 5x7, and again, I'm going to line it up right on that edge and center it side to side. Looks pretty good. Run that through. Clean those dies out later. Okay, so there's all my pieces. Now we can start putting stuff together. So I'm going to start by putting the pink on the back of this base card. And you basically just want to glue it on with a little bit of that drop shadow. So just kind of like decide which way you want to go. If you want to go up, down, side, whatever, however you want to do a drop shadow. Okay. And the way that I did it was I just took tacky glue and put along the edge and then just sort of on some of these cross pieces. You don't have to get glue on everything. Like I didn't put any glue on these outside edges. I think it's fine. And wet glue is your friend. So you're just gonna, like I said, line it up, decide which way you want to do your drop shadow. And when you have wet glue, you can kind of move it around till you get it right where you want it. And then get it smushed down. And see how that covers that whole back. I just think that looks a little more professional than if it was just, a strip there and then white up above. So that's why I did it that way. Now we're going to do our drop shadows on our 5x7 piece. Same thing. So put one on each end. And you want to try and match your, so if you see how on mine, I have my drop shadow kind of up a little bit high and to the right. So I want to try and do the same thing on this one because it's going to go on top of there. Okay. Okay. That'll put together. And then you can decide which side you want up, but you're going to attach that onto there. And I can see right now that this flap is going to be too big. So I'm going to have to cut that off. So I told you this was 8.5. Realistically, it probably should be about 8. Yeah, because I cut off just about 1/2 inch. And then we're going to put some glue on here. And we're going to attach our easel card. And just take your top piece, line it up with the bottom, and then commit it down. And then while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and mat the inside piece. So for these, I found this pink rose paper on my stash. I don't know where it came from. And then some dark pink. And I'm just going to mat that there. So for your mats and layers, you almost want to wait till you get the card put together to this piece because it's hard to know how exactly where your how tight to the bottom you're going to get your edgeable. So you don't really know exactly how much that is. I think I cut mine to, like 2 7/8, and it's probably more like 2 3/4. Okay. Let's go ahead and glue that together. And I will tell you that these dies running through the die cutting machine that many times with that much pressure, it does kind of warp the cards. So what I did is I tried to use the Kalal all-purpose glue for the mats and layers because that does kind of give it some strength. And then I've got just a strip of card there. And I've got my little sentiment. I'm going to go ahead and put that on here while I'm gluing. And then I'm going to go ahead and matte this back section. Again, you don't have to, but I think when it's sitting like that, it doesn't look so good with just the white. So I went ahead and cut a piece of matte layer, and it's 2.5 inches wide. See, I think it looks better with the patterned paper back behind. Now, while I'm working on my flower, I'm going to put that underneath my my cutting plates, just because they're heavy, and it'll help kind of straighten it out, smash it down. Okay. The last rose I did actually off of a Crafter's Companion rose die. This one I used the Spellbinders version of this is a camellia, but it's almost exact. I mean, honestly, the petals, you can't even tell the difference. You could mix the die up and you would never know. And what I did is I just cut 3 of the largest layer, 2 of the next, 2 of the next, and then 2 of the smallest, and some foliage. And I'll show you how I did these. So I started just with my pink tulip ink, and I just kind of went from the middle, and I did all the petals essentially the same. So I'll do one and then I'll stop so that you don't have to watch all of them. And then I took my plum jam and I just went right around the edge. Okay. I liked the looks of the dark edges because I think it makes it stand out really nicely. Each of the layers is very noticeably independent. So it looks like that before I start shaping them. And this is just 80-pound cardstock. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest of the petals, and I'll be back with you in a minute. Okay, now I've got all my petals inked, and I'll show you how I shaped them. So on the little teeny ones, these are going to roll up into essentially a bud. So I took them basically on my pokey tool and rolled it around the pokey tool so that they kind of curve in like that. Okay. And then I sort of wrapped them up or pulled them up and somewhat squished them together, because this is going to be my very center one. And just kind of roll it between my fingers. That's my center of my little flower bud. So the very middle. Okay. So it's going to look like that. And then the next one, I did the same thing, except I didn't squish it up. So kind of roll it around. So I rolled it around my pokey tool. And then curled them up this way as well. Because you just want to work these things, these petals, so that they get nice. And you can see this one, I'm rolling it with the color on the outside because they're going to be so tightly together that you want the color on the outside. So that's going to be my second one. And then we're going to go to the next ones. Now these, all of the next sizes I did essentially the same way. So I started by rolling them sort of from the end under, and then I rolled each side, and then I took one side and rolled back up the other way so that it kind of looks a little bit like that. And you want to work them enough that you kind of break down those fibers. But you don't want to rip the petals off, obviously, so you got to be a little bit careful. But just kind of roll them to one side, then to the other, and then pick a side to roll up. And don't always roll up the same side, so kind of go, you know, you want it to be a little bit almost like ruffly. And you can do some, if you want to leave some, you know, completely just sort of like that. So you get just sort of a difference so that they don't all look the same. And you just want to do exactly the same on every single layer. Okay. Now you're going to put your petals together and you just start with the bottom, the big layers, and layer one on top of the next. Offsetting the petals. So you're filling the gaps. And you're just going to kind of bring those, as each layer goes on, just kind of bend them up. And we're going to put, for our last one, just put glue on there. And poke it right down in the middle. And there's your flower. And by ruffling those edges different directions, I just think it makes the flower look a lot more realistic because the petals look a lot more ruffly. Okay, so here's my card, and I'm just going to put my flower on with my foliage, and then we just need a stopper. And we're all done. Okay, and there's my card. And then I just need to put a stopper in here. And then I put it down towards the bottom of that piece. And there we go. And that's your card. And you see, you got that nice see-through section at the bottom. You can see your pretty floral on the top, and it's a beautiful easel card, just like that, with that see-through element top, bottom of your easel, as well as the bottom of your card. So, isn't that pretty? Thanks for watching.